So hello and welcome to BUtalks, the podcast where we build our souls as well as our CVs. I would like to acknowledge the territory on which we hold BUtalks is the traditional and unceded territory of the Abenaki First Nations and the Wabanaki Confederacy. In performing land acknowledgement, we make that what was invisible visible, and invite the land, the First Nations people, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission into our conversation today. I'm your host, Samuel Marcia, and here today we're interviewing Professor Chad Gibbs. He's been teaching here at Bishop's University and Champlain Regional College since 2004, and he is also the recipient of the Champlain Regional College Teacher of the Year 2014 and 2015 Award, and the SRC Divisional Teaching Award, Humanities, Bishop's University 2011, the Turner Teaching Prize nomination at Bishop's University in 2011, and also you are a member of Sigma Tau, I can't say that.
Sigma Tau Delta.
English Honors Society 2000, and also on the Dean's List, Boys State University in 1999.
That was
so
it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Was there a particular reason for emigrating to Canada?
George W. Bush. It's true. Actually, yeah, I was looking for a change. I kind of hit the, took adjunct teaching as far as I could at Boise State. I really loved it there. There wasn't a 2-year school when I was there. There is now, but so the option is kind of looking for places where to go. Canada was on that list. Actually, it was number one. I came to Sherbrooke. Again, Sherbrooke was where I already knew that I loved this place. And so when I got here, any place that I thought I could teach, I hit up with a CV. And within a week, there had been a couple interviews and got jobs at both places. And never really looked back. It's been great.
What was your first experiences with Quebec, and also after that, how did you end up finding out about BU?
I knew about this place. Bishop's was, I'll be honest, I hadn't really thought about Bishop's. This looks like it'd be a fun place to teach here. Talked to a couple people, asked about the possibilities of teaching here, and shot down by both of them. So, what the hell did they know? But yeah, no, again, so maybe 96, so even 8 years beforehand, I think maybe that was when I had my first idea that it would be fun. And hey, you know what, I'll be honest, my teaching goal, I wanted to teach one class here. I never thought beyond that one class. Okay. As far as like any kind, the goal was one, so made it. 14 years ago, and the rest has just been a lot of fun.
22 classes taught at BSU, which is in the
Boise State,
in Idaho. At Champlain Regional College, you've taught 61 classes so far, and here at Bishop's, 85 classes.
Yeah. Teaching classroom, that's the greatest.
So that's why that's what reinforced like the fact in your head that you're just like, I don't need a PhD.
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, you're satisfied with your master's because the classroom's where you want to spend.
Classroom, interactions with students, that's what makes it worthwhile. That's what makes it not seem like work. The marking's the work part, but even then, seeing students go from A to B, and hopefully B is better, and trying new things and pushing boundaries with your writing, and hearing about successes again now, since 2004. I've been very happy to see a lot of students make livings, they're living as professional writers.
How many classes was it exactly that you came up with, like that you developed?
Oh, here?
Like
Bishop's?
Yeah.
Let's see. My Bishop's babies. It's true. I gotta say, that's been one of the greatest things about working at Bishop's was, this element of trust and taking a chance. And the good news was I think they resonated with students. But let's see, graphic novels, new journalism, sports writing, editing and ethics, graphic novels part 2, the sevens class, senior seminar, 7. Yeah. And then there were a couple others that were already on the books, and happy to do those. But yeah, the ones that I got to develop, I tell you what, that class is always just a joy to teach. I love it. Sports writing, editing, and ethics. A lot of these things have pushed me as a teacher because, hey, the contract world, we kind of live or crash by evaluations, and it's not just meant, take them seriously. Anytime it drops below, for me, anytime it drops below a top 20%, like for any reason, like I'm like, okay, time to retool, time to make it work for you guys. Time, it's the teaching. Something about the reading, read what the comments, I don't know. Again, I love the process, and that's been fun, is to see these courses develop, mature, see them continue to hopefully again resonate in some way, had some skill. I know it's it's part of liberal education that dear mom and dad, I'm learning about Batman. But yeah, well, what about it? Okay, again, let's take a look at identity. Okay, let's take a look at visual rhetoric. Let's take a look at some of these things that really make for some interesting new approaches to reading, to storytelling. That's been a lot of fun.
Well, it's because that's where like a lot of your fan base here on campus really respects you for, is for bringing those alternative subject matters and alternative courses. You're still teaching pretty much the same thing as a teacher would teach, let's say, in an English 18th century literature class. You're just discovering and digging for the same kind of themes and kind of thing, but you're bringing in a different medium, and that's where a lot of people really follow you, is that you set up that alternative path to get to the same result.
Yeah, it's all good. And again, trying hopefully to design some kind of exercise, some kind of assignments, whatever, that push you in different directions. Yeah, no, the teaching was fun, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, what started off is just as an idea to teach. I just wanted to teach the part-time composition course. To be able to say, wow, this is what I do now, I couldn't have told you that. No, best plan is no plan. Stay flexible. Yeah, and be ready. And if you got an idea, throw it out there.
And plus, it gives you time to take care of, your personal interests, like riding motorcycles, and flying planes,
absolutely.
Reading comic books, thinking about writing a comic book.
That's right. Yeah, and that's the big thing too. It's teaching has been 20 years, but even now, you mentioned that the flying has been a fun focus. If you'd ask me what my job title is, I'd be like, search and rescue pilot. Yeah, that has been something that, and you know what, that came from. Again, had no idea, couldn't have seen that coming. And so, childhood dream was to be a pilot. Wanted to be a pilot. 50 was approaching, and so at what point do you realize that dream? And so thought about it, and what I put on, I filled out the form because I like to play along with the students too, and so that was 2014, and then next time I taught sports writing, I got to show. This is coming in for a landing. This is like I'm doing it. Again, and so hopefully next time, one of these days, you get to see me, whip it over inverted and like mission accomplished.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
But no, I gotta say it's something that and it's inspiration from students.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool that it stemmed from an idea that you're trying to get your students to think, but
I get as much from you guys as hopefully you get from me. It's great energy, and that's the focus. That's why teaching is the best part of this job. And I know it's not going to be for everybody. Every class can't resonate with every student, but you hope you push it enough. At the very least, hopefully you don't hate it. You don't think it's a waste of time. Again, for whatever reason, I don't want it to be too easy. I don't want it to be too whatever. Hopefully there's something about it that it's worth your time and worth your money.
Yeah, of course.
It's your dime. I realize you're paying for it. That's important. And so, And again, to see hopefully some improvement, to see some approach, to see some, I don't know, different take on what your life might be, that's the whole part of little education. I had the same thing at University of Utah. Some things that, still stick with me today that I find that I actually use bits of, or stuff that I, would never have thought of it for a career, but, it comes into play. And so that's what I'm hoping these classes will do. So at one point, there'll be something, just even to an approach to a writing or a project or creative problem solving. Because some of the things, that's why you get these assignments is for creative problem solving. Like, I know you have academic papers, and yeah, those things are great, and I assign them too, but
in the practical
for the most part, unless you're in a grad school, unless you're doing it, that's not going to be your world. Let's show you ways to approach different situations.
Just going back off that, like basically, if you could do it all over again, like how do you do it differently? Because like you said, making no plans is the best plan.
No plan is the best plan. I don't regret. I know it's kind of a long road. I know it's different than a lot of other people, but I think that's what makes my approach to teaching
makes it unique and
yeah,
makes it
different.
Yours. Yeah.
Sure. And everything I feel like everything I've done has added something, because if it didn't, I'd ditch it. That's time to move on. Do something else. If you ever feel like, okay, well, this has been great and love it, but if it ever starts to feel stagnant, I get wanderlust really fast. And it's okay. What do I add? Yeah, that's good. So like I say, it's been a lot of fun.
And like personally, like here at Bishop's, like what's your favorite thing about teaching here at Bishop's? Including
students.
The culture.
It's the students. And that's it. And really that is the answer. It's the only answer. I think Bishop students. Again, I don't know if it's a type. Well, sure it is. Okay, you're just a little bit of bias once you spend time. I feel the same way about the Champlain students. I feel the same way about Boise State students. They're my students. There's this element of, I don't know, living in the bubble, living in
there's something.
And again too,
there's something in the water.
There's something in the water. It's the lithium they're pumping in. Yeah, that's right. And again too, something about the nature of the school, and I would say, okay, this is the traditional bishops that you heard about growing up. This is what older brothers, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, whatever, have told students about. I think there is this word of mouth. There is this, I don't know.
The je ne sais
quoi. Of bishop students that really, they should always be hesitant to try to change or evolve, because what has made this school great are the students who have made the school great. Simple as that.
As for I don't know, peers like classmates or your own students, is there any that stand out or just really changed your life and set the wheels in gear?
Yeah. Let's see. As students go, I'd say for Bishop students, Fraser Lockerbie. He's sorry folks, he rose to the top on my list. Who he was here at Bishop's, what he did with the campus newspaper, the stories that he wrote, took risks. He really pushed it. Stories that he wrote got picked up by Canadian press, and pushed his skills locally, writing for the Record. Spent a year writing for them, learning layout. Again, doing the job. He's still doing it. Okay, he's one of the students who came back here and taught. He taught last winter semester. Taught a senior seminar. So proud of who he has become, and I don't see him ever as former student. He's peer. He's one of my friends. It's been great to see where he was, because I can remember him sitting in journalism class that first day, and you're kind of like sizing up students, and by the end of that class, he was part of a group that took an assignment and pushed it in directions that I said, hey, if you can do it, and they did it. They knocked it out of the park, and yeah, definitely Fraser is definitely that.
Well, I'm sure if he's
that
watching,
top
he's
student.
going to be
Yeah,
honored.
totally. Well, send him a note. That's right. Let's see. Who else? It's more their faces and personality types, and they stick with me because these personality types you see somewhat repeated.
Like they're reoccurring.
Yeah, and it's in a good way.
Yeah.
Because I think then it helps you develop the approaches to getting, especially in something, getting people to perform, especially in something as subjective and gray as writing, where, the right answer could be somewhat elusive if there is such a thing. There are better answers. So how do you be getting those? The successes in the students, seeing the change in students first year to fourth year, the confidence where they're coming up, people who take these ideas and really push them out. Students have taken little tiny nuggets of what I want them to do and where they've taken them. Probably the greatest example of that would be graphic novels.
Yeah,
And seeing the finished products that a lot of these students come up with, amazing.
One thing that was really fun with your graphic novels class is that you had the option of either creating a graphic novel or to analyze one.
Sure.
And so as a student, that's just awesome that you get to, first of all, either create something out of your own potential or, analyze, sometimes students, we get sick of analyzing books and short stories and, but when it comes to a graphic novel, and the interesting thing about that too is that you can apply that to life with visual rhetoric and stuff, is to learn to, analyze why things are drawn that way, why things are presented, and it's...
The funny thing is too, though, you talk about you turn it into a comic book. Invariably, students always say, this was the toughest thing I had to do all semester.
Oh yeah.
By the time they came, I'm like, good. It's I was very impressed with expressivist theory. Expressivist theory is that your voice matters as the student. There's the voice of the academy, and it's there. We want to get you there. We're going to start with your voice, and if we can develop your voice and bring in the language of the academy, it's not going to be boring to either write or read.
Yeah, it's a recipe for success.
Yeah, and so I understand there's that language, and you got to get there, and then they have their forms and they got the rules they got to do. But there's also so that's what I learned at Boise State, was that voice matters.
What is one thing that you want your students leaving your classroom, or not just your classroom, but as well leaving Bishops? What do you want them to leave with?
Okay, that's good. The ability to solve problems, to be that person who will come up with 5 or 6 possible solutions, not cause them. The students who are willing to admit if there's mistakes and how do you improve it. Nothing is perfect. Things are messy. There's not, you're going to find as you get in your careers, you don't want the boss that is setting you up to fail, So that's why I don't take that approach in the class. I want to see you succeed. Now, there are things that you're going to do. Some things are going to take some students are going to take those approaches better than others. I want you to come out of the class with some skills that will help you, again, approach problem solving, writing, visual rhetoric, your voice. That hopefully your writing voice has evolved. That's all I can say. It's not great. Mine it still is taking its time. It gets better every time I write. I wish I wrote more. That'll come. But it's a feeling that, this is also what I want you to take, that your careers are going to be varied. Okay? Yeah. Please take a look at mine. I figure I'm in my 4th stage right now. Yeah. First one would be zealot. That'd be the Mormon missionary. Okay. Second one would be writer. Professional writer. Getting paid to write. It's the best. It was the best job. Loved it. Are you kidding me? Third phase, teacher. Right? And 4th phase is pilot. And that's I win the lottery, folks. You won't see me for dust. Right? I mean, no. Again, it's been a great focus. I've been very fortunate. So that's what hopefully you might be able to take from that, is that flexibility and learning skills that might take you from one thing to another. Learn these basic skills and finding those things. And it might be a spark of something in one class. It may not be your major, okay? It may be something, you will find those applications. And that's what I'm hoping that you take from my classes. Like, I remember from my undergraduate experience, you know, the things that stuck, the things that mattered, not necessarily the lectures, but were the applications of things that, you know, maybe approaches to writing, learning different, and the skill, for me it was the skill, news writing, journalism, you know, mass communication. Learning that skill has made all the difference in my life. And so what skill do you take from it? Is it knowing how to study through a problem? Is it knowing how to read? Is it knowing, you bitched about it, but hey, is it knowing how to analyze? Yeah, that's right. And also, you know what? You saw something through start to finish, and that matters these days when it's easy to punk out and say, well, you know, not for me. And hey, school isn't for everyone, but you take something that you take from start to finish. That's the accomplishment. No one takes that away from you. That's great. You know, and again, the little things. It's little lessons that I remember from each class. Sometimes, again, the media law class, a lot of that stuck because that was my future, was understanding these things. And news writing, a lot of that stuck. Now, I know for some students that that's going to be hopefully part of it. Things like journalism. I realize not everyone's going to be a journalist, but you know what I want you to take from that class? Editing. Boil it down. You know, that language matters, that speech matters, that what you say in a meeting has consequences.
Or just to understand what
Sure.
a news story...
Sure.
Like, that's one thing I took out of your journalism classes. Well, I've always been watching the news as a kid because my dad was a reporter, but
there you go.
just to see where the bullshit is. You know, like...
What makes for good news? Fake news. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
how do
okay.
people craft news, and
Sure.
how do people, you know, use certain words to trigger people and to, you know, clickbait and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, and you know, like, that's a good story. Oh, that's nothing. Okay, that's, like you said, that's bullshit. It's like, nah, that's weak. That the lead is weak. You know, that this, you know, the story went nowhere. Oh, it is clickbait, whatever. Again, so you learn to, maybe discern it.
Sometimes even the funniest is, like, personal attacks and stuff, or, like,
Sure.
you know, bias, like,
Sure.
oh, he did this, and then they put their own comment, and you're like, wait a second, that's not too neutral.
Hopefully, again, too, you get hopefully you get with the variety of courses that you get here is, you know, you get a lot of things that you get those filters that will help you see things hopefully a little bit more clearly or a little bit more rationally.
Yeah, what advice would you give to
anyone getting into
journalists?
journalism, anyone thinking about it at any level, understand media law. You are liable from the moment you publish. From the moment it goes beyond two people, you are held to the same standard as the newspaper, as a broadcast corporation, okay, as a commercial website. Doesn't matter if you blog, email, whatever. I say every student, I think that there should be some speech law anymore now that people can publish. Now that it's so easy for your words to go viral, I think that media law is one class that I think would serve beyond journalists today with the amount of communication that now everyone has become, in essence, a mass communicator. Well, there are laws and there's ethics, and if you're again, I was lucky. It was part of my education. I learned the rules. I learned the form, and it has paid off. I'm quiet in meetings. You know why? Because I know to keep my mouth shut most of the time. And I think that would be something, especially in journalists. Ethics are so important. The laws are also very, very important. I say knowing those things, so at the very least, you know when to check. You know when you should be checking into where you're at. And again, until you're a lawyer, hey, keep those resources. Keep the media law book. I still have mine from back when I was taking media law class. Again, those laws have been pretty outdated. We're talking about this new thing called cable TV. Okay, so you know, it's a little dated, but the basics are there as far as, like, you know, approaches. What can we say with what should we? What can we get away with saying? What should we say? You know, sometimes different things. That would be one thing for journalists. And write. Whatever you can get. So lucky that you've got the campus newspaper. Write. Get those articles in. Get your name on bylines. Anyone who's looking for a job as a professional communicator, What you write in school, hey, that's great. Show me what made it into print. Write for the record. Again, the local paper here. This Toast Radio is great. Okay, get practical examples. Schoolwork is great, but when it comes down to it, they want to see that you can do the job. And so these practical examples, these practical experiences that you can do, say, again, I keep pointing over there, across the hall, over the campus, or writing for the record, or writing, again, blogs, or again, whatever you can, practice, right, get that rhythm down, be good, because what it takes, this is what the job was. It's 10 minutes before airtime, and they hand you, 7, 8 paragraphs of a story or a news release or something like, give us 30 seconds, and you got 10 minutes, and it has to be right, and that's when it has to be done. You need to be able to be good and fast, consistent. If you make a mistake, hey, that's fine, that happens. They hear about it from you, okay? That's your integrity. Never try to cover your ass. You learn from it, move on, okay? That's what I would say. Get all that practical experience that you can. I couldn't have pictured this. I couldn't have pictured this as an undergrad, so that's why I'm telling you, where you picture yourself in 10, 20, 30 years, have an idea, develop those skills. Just know that, my dad had an expression. It's like, the job that he wanted to retire at that hadn't been invented yet, and so there's that attitude towards work that, who knows, maybe...
To stay on your feet and keep your eyes open.
And keep your eyes open and excel at it, and if it comes to a point where maybe it's not for you, no harm, no foul, Non-traditional students are fantastic. Some of my favorite students are the ones who don't fit the normal statistic. But again, you don't have to ruin your life in a dead-end job. There's always a path.
Yeah, and like you said, your
go back to school. I hit a wall. I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. Yeah, it'd be fun to teach composition. And that turned into this direction of a career that I had never imagined. And I was in my mid-30s when this started. So take your time. Life is long. School is short. It really is. I know it may not seem my way in midterm time, but school is short. And life is beautifully long, I hope, for all of you. Very, very long. Okay, yeah. That's
forever
and
ever. So I was your host, Samuel Marsha, and our guest here was Professor Chad Gibbs. We'd like to thank you for your time to listen, and I would like to thank you, Professor Chad Gibbs, for your time. It was a great time, and hopefully we all enjoyed that.
Thank you.